Okay, welcome. We're doing a deep dive today based on the sources you sent over. It's all about hair loss specifically, what really helps.
Right.
And let's face it, losing hair. It's
Yep.
not just cosmetic, is it? It can hit pretty hard emotionally, tied up with feeling young, feeling healthy.
It really can. And for ages, it felt like we were just stuck with myths or maybe wishful thinking. But what's clear from this research is, well, science has moved on quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're understanding the how now, things like blood flow, hormones, the actual mechanics.
Okay, great. So that's our mission here. Cut through the noise, using only what's in your material, find the science-backed stuff, no outside info, just what you shared.
Exactly.
And there's some surprising bits in here, actually, like where one of the big treatments even came from.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But maybe before we get to the solutions, we should quickly tackle a couple of ideas mentioned in the sources.
Like the old one about it being all down to your mom's dad, that gene.
Yeah, the sources kind of debunk that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that simple. There is a gene link on the maternal side, sure, but your overall risk comes from both parents. It's more mixed.
Right. So you can't just point to one grandpa.
Got it.
But one thing the sources do seem to agree on is stress.
Oh, absolutely. The research is pretty clear there. Chronic stress, it can definitely cause more shedding. It's kind of a vicious cycle, too.
How so?
Well, you stress about losing hair, which then makes you potentially lose more hair.
Yeah. Nobody needs that loop.
Oh.
Okay, so let's shift to what the material says can work. First up, Minoxidil. Lots of people know that name.
Yeah, or Rogaine commercially.
Yeah.
And that origin story you hinted at, it's fascinating. The sources mention it started as a blood pressure pill.
No way.
Yeah, the hair growth was just this unexpected side effect they noticed.
Huh. A lucky break.
Yeah.
So how does it actually help hair?
Well, its main job seems to be boosting blood flow right there in the scalp. Your hair follicles, they need nutrients, oxygen,
right.
good circulation helps deliver that. Minoxidil kind of widens those little blood vessels.
Okay. And the material suggests it's probably best at slowing down loss, maybe helping regrow some in thinning spots, less effective if an area is, completely bald.
And how do you use it? The sources mention a couple of ways.
Yeah, there are pills, usually prescribed at really low doses, think 0.25 milligrams, maybe up to 5 milligrams. But the sources stress, and this is important, starting super low.
Why is that?
Because it goes systemic into your whole body.
Yeah.
So there's potential for side effects, dizziness, maybe puffy ankles from water retention, even potentially some impact on sex drive. Definitely a doctor conversation.
Gotcha. Start low, know the risks. What's the other way?
The topical. Liquid or foam, usually a 5% solution you put right on the scalp. Much lower risk of those systemic side effects.
Makes sense.
And a practical tip in the sources. You got to let it soak in, 3 to 5 minutes before you put on gel or whatever. Otherwise, it just sits on top.
Good tip. Absorption time. Now, this isn't like a 1-month cure, is it? Oh, definitely not. The sources are clear. It's a commitment. If you stop using it, any hair you saved or regrew, it's likely going to go.
Right. It only works while you use it. Okay. Moving on. Microneedling. That sounds a bit intense.
Yeah, it involves a little roller with tiny needles, usually 1 millimeter to maybe 2.5 millimeters. The idea described is creating these little controlled injuries.
Injuries, why?
It sort of triggers your body's healing process, sends growth factors to the area, potentially wakes up follicles that were kind of dormant, or just gives existing ones a boost.
So you're prompting a repair response that helps hair growth.
That's the theory, yeah.
Yeah.
And a huge point on safety in the material. Clean that roller every single time. Seriously, risk of infection is real otherwise.
Okay, crucial. Now, I think the sources mentioned combining these two, minoxidil and microneedling.
Yes, this is where they talk about synergy. Doing the microneedling first creates these little channels, helps the topical minoxidil penetrate much better, deeper into the skin.
So they work better together.
Seems like it. The research suggests this combo might even bring back some hair in spots that have been thin or, bald for a while.
Wow. Okay.
But it's big, but patience. The sources really hammered this home. You might be looking at a year or more to see really significant results.
A year. Okay, patience is definitely the watchword.
Right.
Let's talk about the main bad guy mentioned in the sources, DHT.
Dihydrotestosterone.
Yeah.
It's a hormone that your body makes from testosterone using a specific enzyme.
And why is it bad for hair?
Well, if you're genetically prone to hair loss, DHT can bind to receptors in your hair follicles. And over time, it shrinks them.
Shrinks them.
Yeah, it's called miniaturization. The hair gets finer, weaker, until eventually the follicle might just give up producing hair, you can see.
Miniaturization sounds gradual and nasty. So how do the sources say you fight DHT?
The main weapon discussed is finasteride. What it does is block that enzyme, the one that turns testosterone into DHT.
Ah, it cuts it off at the source. And how well does it work, according to the material?
The stats mentioned are pretty impressive. Stops further loss for about 90% of guys. Maybe 20% see some regrowth. And existing hair can get thicker, like 20-30%.
Stopping loss for 90%. That's huge. And there was something surprising about the dose, wasn't there?
Yes, this is really interesting. A tiny dose of finasteride, way less than what's used for other conditions, can cut the DHT levels in your scalp by roughly half.
Just a tiny dose.
Yeah, and taking a much bigger dose doesn't seem to cut it down that much more.
So more isn't necessarily better here.
Exactly. And since finasteride can have side effects, potential mood changes, sexual side effects, the thinking is, use the lowest dose that works. Minimize that risk.
Makes sense. Is it just pills?
Pills are common, yeah. But there's also mention of topical creams, sometimes compounded. The idea there is to try and keep the effect local to the scalp, reduce systemic absorption even more.
Okay, so let's recap the main science-backed strategies from your sources. We had minoxidil for blood flow, microneedling for stimulation.
Right.
The two combined for potentially better results.
Yep, that's synergy.
And then finasteride, tackling DHT directly.
That's the core of it, and the consistent message across all of them. Patience, and absolutely talk to a doctor. This stuff needs personalization.
Definitely. So, thinking about that finasteride point again, how such a tiny amount can slash DHT levels.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What might that imply about finding the minimum effective dose for other things, other treatments, maybe inside the body, maybe outside? Just a thought based on what you shared.